Today is an Airbnb and it's really well done, I think. I really like it. I've done a couple others for this same owner, and these are really fun because this view is so good. And obviously this is something I want to make sure I capture and get. That's downtown Salt Lake City. You know, it's not much to look at, but it's all we got. But the really cool thing is the Capitol is right there. So obviously the view is really important here. So as I look around the room, I'm seeing, you know, it goes from fairly bright to dark. That's something I'm gonna have to consider. I call this kind of a shoebox sort of look. A shoebox is sort of a long, narrow room, and it's really hard to light. Sometimes you have to light it in sequences. What I think I can do here is just use natural light to about here and then light back there up to this level and get that to work. And then it'll look pretty good. As you can see, we've got colored light distortion down there. I'm gonna be taking that out completely. Here's an extra bonus point for you guys. See anything wrong here? This seam, always, whoops, get those seams at the back of your lamps so you don't see them in the photographs. See that? Now that you see it, don't you? Yeah, you can't unsee that once you know to look for that. So anyway, I'll fix that later when I'm not shooting something. By and large, this is our space. I think the real thing I'm gonna really wanna focus on here is not just lighting and not just that window pull, but something else. What the hell was it? Oh, I know. It's an Airbnb. What are we gonna do different? So in my staging here, one of the first things I see is this. I don't want that in the shot. I've also got this room off to the front. I'm going to shoot this room first because I can knock this out really quickly and easily. And then I can put all my gear in here and shoot the rest. Always look around for things like this that are hiding because that's important. Here's our view from here. Do you see anything you like in here? I like that mirror right there. I think I'm gonna use that. I think that'll be something I'm gonna do. I've already turned off the lights here. I've lined these up. That's part of staging, line these things up. I don't like this, but it is part of this Airbnb company's look and thing that they do, so it does have to stay, as is this. Not my favorite, but it's what they do. Something like this is really ugly, as is that. This is an Airbnb, so we can do a lot of stuff we can't do in real estate. For instance, Photoshop those cables and all that stuff out, make it look a little cleaner and nicer. So I continue my walk through. Pretty much everything is right how I want it. So I will turn that light off. See how it discolors? Not good. Oh, must be off. How are we gonna do that? Just keep hitting buttons that say off until something goes off. This light? Okay, I thought it would be right there. How about there? There we go. This is the perfect room also for the little bee light. I can be shooting shots out here and just pop a little bee light right in here, and it'll light this up well enough that I can do it all in one shot. Okay, I've got that all set up. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot this now, get this out of the way, and then I'll show you how I do things in the main room. So the front room, I keep reconsidering whether I'm going to shoot it or not. And I think I'm going to shoot it for the tutorial just because it really covers something we haven't dealt with, which is major spaces with vastly different light color temperatures. So I'm gonna go into that. Here's the deal, things look fine when you're in a single light temperature area. This is now lit with incandescent bulbs, so this is about 3200 Kelvin. The second we come out and go from 3200 Kelvin to 5,600 Kelvin, all of a sudden we see the difference. The outdoor is much bluer, and conversely, this is much yellower. The iPhone's adjusting for it as I go back and forth, but you can see it there. So we've got two large areas in two completely different color palettes or styles. We can do this, which kind of splits the difference. We can go for the blue or we can go for the yellow. What are we gonna do? Well, here's my plan. I am just gonna shoot that. I really like the light in here, and I can make this work here. And we've got a nice line right here to do our cut with, and our in between is gonna be white anyway, so we can neutralize right there. So what I'm gonna do is just do one simple 3 exposure. Actually, I'm gonna go 5 to make sure I can get the outdoors. I'm gonna do 5 exposures, and oh yeah, this is my first shoot of the day, so I'm going to format my hard drive. I always format the main drive, and then my SD, which is my backup, I format that once a week, and that's how I make sure I don't lose anything. All right, so I've done that. Now all I need to do is go to 2 seconds, and let's shoot this. That looks like we got it. So my idea here is we're gonna fix this all in post. And I know sometimes I say, don't rely on post to do it, but I know what I'm doing here. We can white balance all 5 images for the indoor, and then we can re-white balance for all the outdoor, make 10 images. We don't need to shoot 10, we only need to shoot 5. In fact, we don't even need that many. We'll just pull the ones that we need that are exposed correctly, because I know that this exposure and that exposure are drastically different. So I'll be using different exposures in the ambient. So that's how I'm going to put this together. Now I'm going to take this and expose this for the windows. And 400 is too high, so I'm going to have to drop the ISO so that I get my exposure back to 200. And actually I can go a little, yeah, that looks really good. I don't think it looks so good on the iPhone, but I can tell it looks good by looking at the viewfinder. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Now I'm gonna light the room. Here's our buddies all staged. We're gonna take D. D is already on. We're gonna put D here to light this part of the room. And we're gonna use C further down, put it right there, and light that part of the room. And then we're gonna use our buddy B. Oh, B turned himself off. Turn him back on. We're gonna put B right here. Okay, one of the cool things about Flash is that when you set your exposure down this high, down this much, sorry. When you set your exposure down this much, you're not getting any of the yellow light. So this will only be lit with Flash. Let's give it a shot and see what we come up with, and we'll make adjustments from there. All right, so I think B needs to be a little higher, and C needs to be a little lower, and D needs to be a little lower. Let's try that again. I think we've just about got it. Those two are just exactly what I want. This still needs to be a little hotter, so we'll go up to 1 and we'll give that a shot. Yeah, it looks a little flashy, but when we throw a ambient onto that, that'll be just fine. From here on out, we've got enough light, so I'm just gonna start turning off. See, we've got plenty of light for that. And now everything is gonna match. So I'll eventually turn those little bad boys off. But for now, they don't bother me. So gonna knock out that shot. All right, now let's take a look at how we're gonna edit those. We shot the sequence, the first 5 images, and we kind of split the difference in the color temperature. So I'm just gonna take all 5 of them and make virtual copies. So I'm just gonna select all 5 of them and create virtual copies. And for this group that I've got all the virtual copies, we're going to go bluer and get that. We've got the yellow taken out of those. So those are the odd numbers. So now for the other ones, we're going to adjust these to take the blue out. So we'll add gold and we'll go there. And that looks pretty good. So I'm just looking now at the distance. So let's start going through these and pick which ones we're going to use. Let's start with this. That's a little hot. We're going to need something a little bit lower for our background of our image. So probably gonna, oh, did it not copy? Oh, I guess I'll have to make my adjustments on my own. I thought I copied them across. Let's bring that exposure up a little bit. Take the highlights way down. There we go. I think that looks really good. We've got some discoloration up there on the roof, so I'm just going to take my color mixer and pull that out. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to take some blue out. I see blue on the floor. There we go. Now let's open that up a little bit. I'm looking primarily at the pillow on the couch. I pulled that in. So that is a good one there. I'm going to green that for my background. Now I'm going to take that and copy that over to the windows. And that looks pretty good for the window. I think I want that for a window pull. I want a little bit more contrast out there. A little bit more yellow. No, that looks pretty good. So there's our window pull. So I'm going to take that, green that. Now we're going to take and look at just the exposure inside the office itself. And that'll be here. Let's bring the exposure up a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Take the highlights down a little bit. You know what? By and large, that's pretty good. And then I'm going to try and neutralize that wall a little bit. And that's pretty much taking the blue out. So I'll just go like that. And there, I think we've done really good there. 3 ambience should make that work. Now let's go through our flashes. We're just going to go to the last flash. The flashes are different colors. I've known that for a while. Flashpoint and Godox are not super right on when it comes to color. So you can see that this one room is a little bit more yellow. I am also getting a lot of reflection off the floor there, and that has a lot to do with it too. So I will go ahead and pull some of that color out. Oops, it didn't pick up. There we go. Now, you know what? I'm going to do it like this, and then I'm going to make a virtual copy where I pull that out, because when I pull that color out, I lose the color of the floors, and I don't want to lose that color of the floors. So I'm going to make that green, and then I'm going to make another copy of it. And this is the one I'm going to do the color adjustment to. Actually, the desk too loses all its colors. So this is just for the walls. And it is 100% orange. All right, so that works pretty good. That works pretty good. I don't think I need another window pull, but I've got it there if I need it. I can come back to it. I don't think I need it. So we're looking at this, and 2 flashes. And let's send that over to Photoshop. All right, we're all in Photoshop. Now I hit F2, align all those, get those all lined up. And then now let's put them in the order that I want them. Obviously, I do the ambient at the bottom and I do the flash on top. So that's a good ambient for the office, the left side. So we'll pull that down. We'll make that our very base image. Next one is our possible window pull. I'm going to turn that off. This next one is our ambient for the right side of the image. So those are fine. I think what I'm going to do is let's just do the matte right now. We're just going to go right along that line. And, it really should be this easy. I need to turn off the flash so I can see what I'm doing. All right, that is a little too dark. I think what I'd rather do is, this is kind of a weird trick, but let's take that and put it right on top. Rather than bouncing it back to Lightroom, fixing it and sending it back, I can see the adjustments I need to do now. So I'm just going to make that the top layer. I'm going to edit it in Photoshop. I'm going to pull out the color raw filter, put it into that. I need to take some green out and make it brighter. So, okay, why didn't that work? Filter, camera raw filter. Sorry, there we go. All right, so let's bring the exposure up some. Let's take the highlights down so we don't lose those too much. And then I did want to, I think, take green out. Let's see what color it ends up being, but this right in here. Yeah, it's greens and yellows. There, let's take that. All right, so now we've adjusted that. There's our mask, put it on there. And that's a lot better. It'll get cleaned up more in the flash, but that gets that going. So our next two layers are the flash for the background and the flash for the, oh, that's right, the orange and the walls. So let's put the walls on top, and then we're just going to use the magic wand tool and select all the walls. And that's going to whiten all our walls. And then we just go through here once we're done selecting, and we're going to use a minus select tool. That is, click Option on your keyboard and your select tool turns to a minus like that. And then I'm just going to go right up the floorboards and anything with some color in it like that, so that we don't select any of that. Don't want any of that selected. So we go up here and then straight down here. So there, that takes all that out of it. Now we can see what we want to add to it. And, pretty much all this white door is really easy to select. We just go like that to get it all. Get this part. Let's go back to minus and we'll make sure we don't get those windows at all because I don't want those. Actually, I don't think we're going to get those. So I'm just going to click that. Now I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that because we're not going to get those windows. We're going to do a window pull. Let's add a plus now and get the rest of that roof. And I'm going to go back to here and add, oops, I lost my complete selection because I didn't hold down the shift key. So hold down your shift key and we can add in more. So I'm just getting the stuff in between there. I don't think that was right. So I'm just going to continue without that. And now I'm going to minus again and get that floor taken out of there. Now I'm going to use the minus and make sure I don't get any of that. And there we go. We should have a fairly decent mask. And let's put that on there and turn that up. And now we've got non-discolored walls with the natural orange of all the wood and all that. And it's a little loose, but for the most part, we're not seeing any problems with it. So let's take our two flash layers, put those into a group, give those a white mask, take those down to 75 or 80% opacity, and let's start painting this in black. So X to go to black. Need a much bigger brush. And then our flow is 14. I think that should be fine. So let's take out all our flashy looking stuff. And look at that thing just come alive. All right, I see a problem we're going to have to address. We're going to have to take some more yellow orange out. And that's right up in here. And so what I'm going to do there, I'm also seeing some green in there. And I don't want to take too much of the green out. Also, if you look right in here, you can see one of my masks did not quite line up. I'm betting it's this one. Yep, that's that one. So I'm just going to go back in here, zoom in, and let's cut that a little bit better. And you know what? I guess that wall is not straight. Look at that. There we go. That's why it didn't line up. So I should be able to paint this with white and bring that back in. So X to go to white. Where's my brush at? Yeah, there we go. See that line disappearing? This is why you always you never save and crush everything all into one layer, because you may have to go back and fix something like this. And it's always good to be able to do that. So it looks like that line's a lot cleaner now. Maybe a little up here. There sure is a lot of yellow in that too, isn't there? I'm going to have to address that. And I'm going to show you another way to deal with that right here. Let's go back to full screen and deselect so that we don't have any selected objects. And what I'm going to do is I have to pick a layer for the select tool to work from. So what is the best layer that's going to show me this ceiling the best? And I think it's going to be one of the flash layers. Let's take a look at this flash layer. Yeah, let's go with that flash layer. So I'm going to run all my selects from that. So I'm going to go back here to this tool and select that part. And then I just keep hitting on areas that are not included when I want it included. And there we go. I'm only looking at the ceiling, so all those extra areas I'm going to cut out now. So I'm going to take the select tool, hold the option button, and that will give us a minus on this. So we'll minus down to there to make sure that we're not getting any of that. And then we'll just come across here and we'll cut all that out. So now all we're dealing with is that white ceiling. Now we go up above everything. We choose a filter called hue saturation. And now we have, oh, it put it in the group. I have to move it above the group. So it's only selected that part of the roof, which is fine. That's all white. So we just go into that and we bring the saturation down to right about there. And that looks pretty good. And it doesn't affect any of the rest of the image. I think we're also going to do this part because I see some orange there that I don't like. So we're going to just kind of go around this like that. And then I'm going to use that select tool again to select all the, go back to the image that we're selecting from, holding down the shift key, getting all those areas. See, that's what I was afraid of. I don't want to get the floor. Actually, you know what? We can just cut out the floor easily. And, oh, not that. I can turn down the sensitivity. It's at 32 right now. Let's go to 20. And maybe that'll give us just what we, yep, that did. Nope, too far. Hit Command Z. That'll do it. Now we go back up to this mask on the hue saturation layer. We take out the part we don't want. So that's holding the Option key. And I'm going to minus this all out. And then I go back to that mask, paint with white, and now that kitchen island loses some of that yellow. There we go. That looks really good. I honestly would probably leave this window pull at just about where it is for most places, but because the state capitol is right there, and that's very important to them, we are going to do a little bit more of a window pull. So I'm going to deselect and then zoom into that. And let's cut ourselves a window pull. Looks like it's going to be a little janky at the bottom, but won't be too bad. This is the worst, I think, of all the mats we'll have to cut. See, it really doesn't take that long. Let's get that little bit right there. Now let's get this window. Try not to go, when you're dealing with fabric or something like the back of the couch like that, try not to go too far with a straight line, because cloth doesn't usually, and the back of couches don't usually make straight lines. They have little bumps. So just go little bits of the ways and then, you know, adjust and waver it a little bit. It'll look more natural. Last window. See, this doesn't really take all that long. See how there's that little bump right there? Yeah, cloth rarely stays straight, but windows do. So those we can do that with. So here we go. Hit the mat button, and there's our mat, and there's our pull. And let's look at the image as a whole. Window's a little too strong. Let's bring it down a little bit. I think right in there should work. Yeah, that's going to work really good. I think we've got a really good image. So there we go. Send it back to Lightroom, Command S, and close out of this when we're done. Go into Lightroom. Now let's adjust our verticals. And I'm going again as far to each side as I can. That looks really good. There are some chromatic aberrations. You can see the purple really strongly right there. So let's just go right in there and get rid of that. There we go. Do the same to the greens. And we should be good to send this back to Photoshop and do our final cleanup. So edit in Photoshop. Good job. Here we go. All right. This is commercial. This is a Airbnb. So I tend to like to remove all the power outlets and things like that. I like nice clean walls. I like nice clean images. Fire things go away. Door latches go away, especially that one right on the line. I think that might be my head. Is it? Let's see. Yeah, that's my head. Let's take that out of there. I'm not going to do a cameo in this one. There we go. That's good enough. That light switch can stay. I'm going to just see what happens. That's a light. Let me see if I can get that out of there because I just don't think it looks right. See how well this does. That works. It's gone. What else? Oh, there's some stuff there. Get rid of that. That, I know in other videos I've talked about policing your borders. This is what I mean. Do not cut things off like that. Completely show them or completely lose them, but don't show parts of them. That just looks tacky. This window, we're showing enough of it. It's acceptable to me. All right, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and run this through. Let's make another layer and run it through Topaz. And obviously I sharpen all, but I take the strength way down and then I export it back. I'm going to go ahead and throw this into Nick and see what happens. I don't think there's any reason not to just see how it works. So let's go ahead and make another copy of it. And now let's pop that into Nick. And I have my own little recipe that I've created there. And I think I've told you guys what's in it. But there we go. We'll put the highlight way out there, way down there, and bring this up. That way it draws you through. I think this shows a lot of really nice contrast. I think it looks really good. Let's go ahead and use that. I'm going to make another copy of it. There's some blue I don't like down beneath the high chairs or the bar stools, I guess. Yeah, guess they're not really high chairs, are they? So we'll click a hue saturation layer above that, and we'll just drop down blue, and we'll bring the saturation of blue way down. Now we'll take the mask on it, which is now white. We'll hit Command I to make it black, so it's not affecting anything. And now I'm only going to paint it in right here where I see the blue. That way it's not affecting the whole image. It's just affecting where I find it objectionable. I think there might be a little, I think there might be a little aqua in there too. Let's go ahead and add our cyan aqua. Take that down a little bit too. All right, that looks good. We're gonna round trip that back to Lightroom and then do a final crop on it. I typically do not like to show a third wall, but I also don't like to cut into trees. So this left-hand side kind of has me going two different ways on it. Let's see what happens if I do that. I'll look at that. We can get that PowerPoint right on the desk, which to me is really important. Let's see what happens here. Nope, I don't really want to come in that way. There we go. I think that should look good. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, I think that looks better. That looks better than showing the third wall. And then we have a sensor spot right here. I've seen that or I've noticed it 2 or 3 times during this edit. This is the first time I've remembered to edit it out. There we go. So I would give that 3 stars and go on to my next edit. I hope that maybe you learned something in this or something caught your eye and you went, wow, I'm going to do that next time. Something like that. My real hope, my honest hope, is that this does something to make you a better photographer and make your images look a lot better. So, as I always say, may your next image be your best image.